Hello and welcome to The Hero Spouse. I'm Kenda Ruth, here to answer one of your questions about marriage and midlife crisis. Today we have an anonymous female left behind and forward-moving spouse with a bomb drop of November 6th, 2020 and a date of marriage of 1991. She has an off-and-on contact type who is a high-energy replayer. She says, my ex-husband left and married the alienator within 9 months of leaving. And I'm going to assume until I get on later that he left at bomb drop approximately. So that I'm looking at this as 9 months after bomb drop, he married the alienator. Well, I've read this before, but I think that was how it looked to me originally. The marriage was kept secret. And this says was kept secret. They lived in 2 different states for 3 months after marriage. Once they moved in together, he was fired. The worlds collided with her and I once a clinging boomerang. He was once a clinging boomerang and he became a vanisher in February of 2022. So let's go back and look at this. November of 2020. 9 months after that is summer of 2021. So summer of 2021, I think that's summer. I'm just guessing in my head. 2021, they married. In February. So 6 months later, he became a vanisher. That's when the marriage came and he was at home for a while. So less than a year and a half later, he went from clinging, not just regular boomerang, clinging boomerang to vanisher. So, which may be why we're talking off and on now. We'll see that in a little bit. Recently, so here's where we get the off and on territory. He started replying and even calling when needed. It is consistent, but still basic. So he's consistent in now being communicative in contact. I also found out he contacted his mother for her birthday and he messaged his brothers and mother for Christmas. He's never told them that he got remarried. He's messaging and calling his kids again, but recently my daughter called him out on all his lies and they're now disconnected. And I'm assuming your daughter is his daughter. Date of marriage, 1991. I'm going to assume that. So our daughter. Hold on, let me find my space again. So he's disconnected with his daughter, the daughter you share with him. You said he's calling his kids. And so I don't know if you mean kids that you have together or if you have stepkids that he had from a previous relationship, just because you phrased it his kids, not our. In a recent conversation, he said Christmas was miserable. The alienator moved both of her adult daughters in, and he is financially struggling, and she's materialistic. That's actually good. All of that is good. Any conflict between them is great. Why is he now opening communication? I've told him I would always be his friend, but I also don't want to be manipulated. He responds, but he doesn't initiate, and I'm unsure how to move forward. And then, in addition, she added later. I wanted to add that we went 3 months without contact until I found out he had been married. He answered that text by a call and he said he didn't want to be friends. When he opened communication, he said he didn't mean it. He hadn't meant that he didn't want to be friends. I told him I would not be disrespected anymore, and if he wasn't going to respond on business-related things, then we needed to find a way to disconnect everything. He said no, he would. So in other words, he wouldn't be disrespectful anymore, is what it looks like. I could text, email, or call anytime. Just give him, he said I could do these things. Just give him a few days to respond. That's reasonable. After his disagreement with our daughter, there we have the hour, okay. We had a phone call that I did call him out on everything, and he took it and never monstered. He has replied to texts since and thanked me on them. So, first, we are at just over 2 years from bomb drop to not quite 2.5. It is January 2023. So 2 years and 2 months from bomb drop. So he is starting to feel some of the pain of what he's done and have some, let's not use the word insight, but recognition of I've made a mistake. Just looking at purely timeline, however, that doesn't mean he's ready to do anything more. But that is one of the answers to why is he doing this now? Why is he communicating? He's starting to recognize his mistakes. And maybe sometimes they recognize their mistakes when they make them. So I'll use the word regret. He is starting to have more regrets for the mistakes. And what do I need to do about them? He may not be ready to do something about them. But he is opening communication with you. He is truly, probably naturally some level of boomerang, clinging or not, but he's at least he wants contact with you. He has taken off contact with you because you are good at boundaries and you've set them up, because he has a manipulating MLCer or alienator, and she's married to him, so she's also confused at why, even though it was clearly an alienation type of situation. She didn't marry him later because she was in an affair with him before. He has not talked about the marriage with his family. Now, have you? Do they know, even though he hasn't told them? And if so, are they agreeing to keep it a secret and not let him know? Is it time that you push that out to public? Now, that's a question, not an answer. You have to decide the answer for yourself. Because are you enabling parts of this to continue by allowing him to keep that a secret? He married somebody. He needs to be brought forth with some of these things. But you have to decide, when is that? He might say, well, that was for me to tell. Like, I'm sorry. And then you have to come up with a reason why it was for you to tell as well. If you do. Now, he is calling you because you are a rock. You are a consistent anchor. And that is stability, which he wants. He wants that stability in him. So he's going to be consistent and start replying to you. And it's going to be very basic. And it's good right now that it's very basic, because that's not scaring him off. There's not pressure with it. What we're looking at now is your confusion as why. You don't want to be manipulated. Well, if he's being very basic, it kind of, when I get that, I get that he's being, my interpretation is neutral. Go with it. You're approaching it with an appropriate level of caution or wariness. I hope you're not crossing that over to paranoia. He responds, you told him you'd be his friend. I would work very carefully and cautiously in this context with smart contact, because he wants that stability. He's recognized the mistakes, but he's just not at a point. He is most likely still in escape and avoid as a high energy replayer. What Jim Conway called replay, I call it escape and avoid. Replay is the style of escape and avoid, but he's still there, or crossing a boundary into liminality. There's a period where it's kind of both. You're stepping into one, you're running back from one, into both of those. He's having some insights, some recognition, some more than recognition, some acknowledgement, but probably not ready to fall all the way down to that rock bottom. And when they get to rock bottom, they can drill down deeper. So it doesn't really have a lot of meaning. But rock bottom, not in the sense of what we think of as rock bottom, is the place where you can't go deeper, but the height or depths, let's call it depths of liminality, that's where you fully come apart. Your psyche, it's just broken down. It's what they were being afraid of. And it's broken down so that it can be rebuilt. He's probably not there yet, but he's getting there. But it can take a long time, months and years, to get there. And so I picture him dipping his toe in. I call it the liminal pool or liminal chasm. Or he's fallen down and he's climbing back up and out into escape and avoid again. He's right at the boundary. He's probably there. The timeline tells me that, along with what you're showing me about him recommunicating with you. And he can run all the way back in right now. So that it can be part of cycling as well. That's why. You're stable. What do you want to do with that? Just be a stable force. And use smart contact. No expectations that he is going to take this into a manipulative place, but you know what to do with it if he does. No expectations that he's going to take it into a more touch and go reconnection anchor checking place, but it might happen. So you prepare for all of those scenarios by knowing what to do in them. Okay. And you work on yourself during it, because that's what you should be doing anyway. Doesn't matter what else is going on. You work on yourself. You work on yourself. You work on yourself. Take care of your kids. And everything is going to work out, whether that means reconciliation or not, because you've worked on yourself. And you have paved the way towards you if He's going to accept that someday by working on yourself. The things you need to do to get through this, to reconciliation or a successful co-parenting or life after a divorce and whatever, are the same. Detachment, personal healing, self-development. So keep doing that. I hope that this is helpful, and I will see everybody in the next question.